Hey everybody, welcome back to the Modern Customer Podcast. I'm your host, Blake Morgan. Today we have a really special guest. Our guest is Cosimo Spera, the founder and CEO of Minerva. Now, Minerva is a contact center software provider that is very special. It is very different in that it uses AI to create a better agent experience, but it really is the cream of the crop when it comes to this contact center technology. And I believe in it so much that I joined as an advisor to help bring this product to market. Cosimo Spera is a world-renowned mathematician. He actually brought Java to UC Berkeley, and he's a serial entrepreneur that was formerly the chief data scientist for 247.ai. He is really a genius when it comes to artificial intelligence and how to put AI to work to create a more human experience in the contact center and, of course, then in the customer experience. Minerva is starting to disrupt the utility space to make that contact center experience more functional, because we know that the utility industry can have a little bit of dysfunction in the contact center, and also serving companies that are related to the utility industry, like the electrification of energy. So this is an important topic. It's something I'm really passionate about, and I know you'll enjoy our conversation. Cosimo, welcome to the Modern Customer Podcast. I am so excited to have you here because we have a special connection. And before we get into that, I would just love for you to tell our listeners your story and how you came to be the founder of this innovative CX AI company.
Thank you, Blake. It's always nice to chat with you. We have a special connections. You are part of our family as being an advisor to Minerva. Let me tell you a little bit about my story. As you can tell from my accent, I am not an American born. Came from Italy to study, did my PhD here, then went into an academic career to some pretty good school. I was a professor at UC Berkeley as my last job before I went and moved from academia into business and became some type of a serial entrepreneur. I have done several startups. Minerva is my last one. And I'm pretty excited to lead a team of super smart people who take the customer's experience and the customer's success very seriously. We all have a mission in life to create a better experience with the technology and with the solutions that we bring to the market.
Absolutely. So when you say that Minerva is your last one, I hope you mean this company is going to be so successful that you're going to just grow it for the next 20 years.
That is a good point.
Yeah. Yeah, because what I learned about you when I was connected to you is that you brought Java to UC Berkeley and you're a world-known mathematician, which, I don't know the top mathematicians because that's not really my world. But obviously, if you're a fantastic mathematician, I would assume that lends itself nice to engineering. And that's why you decided to take that skill set and apply it to problem solving, basically.
You are absolutely correct. I made a joke to distinguish the mathematicians by engineers. And remember my father, who was an engineering by training, asked me why you want to go to math school. And my answer was that I do not like to do things by approximation. Emphasizing that the mathematicians like to prove things to perfection. I hope that we do have a good engineering team, but we follow the protocol and the rigors of mathematics when it comes to deploy a solution that doesn't leave room to mistakes. And I think that's what we're trying to do here at Minerva.
Yeah, it seems like the goal Cosimo, is zero defects, which when it comes to customer experience, that is always the goal, because I always say that a good customer service team is one that you really don't need because the product works so beautifully. But obviously that's not the state of the world, because any of our podcast listeners and viewers can probably imagine a recent experience they had that was not up to par. I would say COVID, in some respects, customer service is worse because of staffing issues, but in other respects, the investment in digital customer experience has been huge in the last 2 years. Let's actually talk about Minerva. What is it and how does it improve the customer experience?
Minerva was born with the notion of applying into the field of customer service, in general, in the space of customers' experience, the notions of collaborative intelligence. And before I go further and explain what we exactly do and how we improve it, let me try to identify and define what is collaborative intelligence. For collaborative intelligence, we mean a framework in which we bring together to work in solving complex problems human brains and artificial brains. What we realized that in trying to push and minimize on the cost of operations in customer care and customer service, company had pushed down to extreme digitalizations, hoping that going through digital channels, through chatbot, would have minimized the cost and address the problem. Now, there has been a famous movie some time ago called The Imitation Game. The Imitation Game refers to the life of Alan Turing, which is a famous computer scientist / mathematician. And there is a famous test, definitions by Alan Turing of what is artificial intelligence. And the test is called the Turing test. And the idea is that if you can build a chatbot that can simulate the human behavior and human reasoning for 30 minutes, then you pass the Turing test, which means that you have created an element that is capable to mimic the human experience. Now, companies have pushed without understanding that nobody has ever passed the Turing test, except for one small case that was very defined, where the bot simulated the behavior of a 13-year-old kid. But in business, there has been no success story of people claiming to have passed the Turing test, which basically gives idea that instead than frustrating customers with a poor experience, why we are not putting together the human brains and the artificial brains to work in conjunction so that we can provide better service to the customers. So the premise of Minerva has been based on the fact that we have built a solution where during the conversations, being these conversations, over the digital channel or over the voice channel, we assist humans in understanding on how to drive the conversations along the path of optimal resolutions, or if you want, along the path of minimum resistance, which basically provides an excellent service to the customers. And when I say excellent service, I mean that we do what the customers want in the least amount of time with the maximum customer satisfaction.
Yeah, I mean, everybody listening and watching this, all of our podcast audience, they're all customers. And one of the worst experiences is just waiting. And so often when you're in a contact center experience, you are waiting because the contact center agent is wading, WADING, like in a pool, through tons of information and offers and data, and it's a mess. And it sounds like what technology does is it's improving the agent experience so customers don't have to wait so long. They get more personalized offers. And it sounds like a small thing, but it sounds like from a mathematical perspective and to make the technology happen, it's quite complicated to make that such a simple experience for the agent.
It is. And let me go back to the fact that I am a mathematician and I do the best when I put words into a mathematical structure. Think about in an equations you have two sides. Okay, you have the right hand side and you have the left hand side. And an equation means that the right hand side needs to be equal to the left hand side. Translate this into the customer's care. What had happened before that you have on the left of the equations you have the customers, on the right of the equations you have the agent. There has been some significant investment in try to build technology that support the customers, but there is extremely none as done, in trying to build technology that were equivalent to support the agent, which has created an imbalance into the equations. Now you have, technology to support the customers, for which the customers, have complex intent, for which the agent is not prepared to resolve. And by the way, because COVID and because of the Great Resignations and because people do not like to do this job because it's a job where you have a significant amount of abuse on a daily basis. It's a job
Yeah,
that's
I read
stress.
that.
The churn rate is significantly high.
I read that 1/3 of contact center agents are currently like looking for a new job.
And so, because people do not like the job, specifically, people do not like the job because they are exposed to extreme challenge without any assistance. And our objective has been to be able to provide assistance to the people. And assistance means not only assistance in understanding how they could be empathic towards the customers, but assisting in understanding how they can get things done. And again, I generally do a very having an algorithm that analyzes and crunch numbers. It's much faster than a human. But in some tasks like understanding human emotions or understanding if somebody is frustrated or not frustrated, the human do as good as a job of a machine, or if not a better job than a machine, in understanding on what type of stress conditions the customers is. And they, if trained properly, they will know on how to convey some type of information and how to make sure to walk the customers along a path of optimal resolutions for the problem that the customers has called in.
Yeah, so often the questions are complicated. And I mean, that is a great segue to my next question about the industry that Minerva has chosen to address first, which is utilities, to expedite the use of clean energy. A lot of your first customers are related to clean energy. So can you talk about why you felt that the utilities industry and related industries need this software so badly?
This is an excellent question, and thank you for and addressing this. It's one of my favorite story. And generally, when people look at the power utility and retail power utility specifically, they look at industry for which the customers care. It's the least important element because most of the time those have operated in a very highly regulated market. You had no choice. You only can go with one provider. Today, things are changing. Even in a very regulated market, things are changing because there are options for the consumer to be able to go off the grid, which had made the incumbent in the space to be challenged by company like Tesla and Google, who are entering in the energy market. And when you are going to talk with executives that runs the customer service in the power utility market, and you are telling your customer satisfaction index is at 10, at best 20, your NPS your NPS index is in between 20 or 30, and you have a challenge that Tesla is going to eat your lunch or Google is going to eat your lunch, then you have a significant amount of attention. On the top of this, we do believe strongly that the path to decarbonization really starts with empowering the customers in requesting a plan and subscribe to energy plan that are being sourced from clean energies. And I think if this is the case, we not only are doing a favor to the executives of this industry, but also we are doing a favor to the world in accelerating the path towards decarbonizations. And I think our solution, because we not only support the power utility market, but we are heavily involved also in the electrification space. One of major customers that we have is the leader in the electrification space that allows you to provide and buy a charging point for your residents. So now that you can charge your electrical vehicle with the minimal cost and consumptions of energy. So I think we picked this for a reason to do two things. One, there was an incumbent from urgency from the top executive for the leading company in this space, followed by the fact that this solutions it's an accelerator to decarbonizations, which obviously it's a huge problem for the planet. And the Glasgow conference has shown how most of the countries want to accelerate this path to decarbonization.
Right, and customers are voting with their wallet. They are so hungry for alternative ways to power their homes, their cars. I think customers definitely want more options, and the utility industries have been lucky in that it has been somewhat of a monopoly. And even just in a recent interview with another executive who is trying to change the space as well and help people conserve energy, the energy grid was not built to last this long, and it's really not doing well. And it's a really complicated issue, but it seems that if we start small, that's really the best way to go. And to start in the contact center and in customer service, that's an important step, because when we think about customer service for utility companies are actually one of the top 5 most hated customer experiences, alongside government, healthcare, insurance, and cable. They're up there in the top 5. So I love that you're moving into a space that needs it and you can really be of service. Can you talk about a recent success story you've had and what the software actually allows the utility client or electrification client to do?
Oh, yes, I mean, that performance is measured by given metrics. Let me give you, a couple of points of reference, on how our software has done extremely well. One of the metrics is first contact resolution. So people would like to see, if they can increase the resolutions at the first time that customers call. One of the worst experiences is to call twice, 3 times to solve a problem. And in the power utility and in electrification, this happens often, right? You call to say, oh, I don't have energy in my house. Can you tell me the cause? My neighborhood has it. Because it may be served by a different subgrid, and then you call 24 hours, and of course nobody has a landline, and people call. I have to go and charge the cell phone somewhere else to call back, because at the time that you are calling back, your cell phone has been off. So there is a significant number of challenge, and obviously the capability to solve the problem immediately, it's almost one of the top priority, a top mandate for the industry. So first thing is, one of our customers in the electrification space, they were at 67% of first contact resolution. We increased this at 82%. That's a significant jump. So basically, you have almost like a 15% jump in in the improvement. The second, which I think is also has been important, has been the time to train agents. Okay? The time to train agent has gone down by literally by 75%. So it took 20 days to train a new agent to do the job. Now it takes 5 days. The average contact time went down by 44%. So their average call time was 9 minutes. Now it's 5 minutes, which also is extremely important. Their CSAT has increased by from the target that they had established by 50%. And most important, through our conversation and the analysis of conversations, we have empowered the sales force to understand who were their competitors, how their customers perceive their competitors, and what are the features that the competitors or the customers perceive that the competitors has better, and what are the features that our client has better, which has allowed, obviously, also on the definitions of the product to provide extremely good feedback for the team in building better products so they can beat the competition.
So few companies spend and invest in everything they need to make customer experience incredible. That's why I keep saying this, but all of our podcast listeners and viewers, they could probably recount a few terrible customer experiences they've had in the last even just few days. If customer service is so easy and being customer focused is so easy, why do so few companies do it? Where are they dropping the ball?
Well, it's obviously, again, the investment, those are problems that are complex, right? And I have to say that the pandemic has also made some of the interactions way more complex. Don't forget that in the past, a contact center was a one single place of work where people were in the same room. Now, agents are location independent, or they work remotely. I prefer the second, and to call location independent, because they can be in any place and do their job. And the that has also amplified the somehow the fact that the agent did not have a support system. Because before they could ask the next door colleague how to do something, or the supervisor by raising their hands. But now, when you are in a remote settings, those type of supports are gone. So which makes the agent the interactions a little bit more complex. So investment and as I said at the beginning, have been done trying to create nice website, try to digitalize the information, push the information in the digital channels, which was the right thing to do. But they have missed the fact that if you make one step toward in the customers, the equations on the right hand side has the agent. You need to make an equivalent one step on the agent in order for the agents to be able to be up par with the customers. So today, in order for you to be able to catch up and to be able to close that step that has been creating between the right-hand side and the left-hand side of the equations, company needs to make investment on technology that support the agent sides and improve the agent experience in order for them to be able to feed and keep the customer's experience at high standard, which it's the one that everybody would assume to have, right? You want to have a service that is a VIP service, no matter who you are as a customer.
There's been so much dysfunction in the utility industry, and from what I hear from my research, utility companies really struggle with the fact that customers just don't like them, and they don't have a good reputation overall. If you could tell the utility industry and even the related industries like clean energy and electric charging of vehicles, what is one message you would tell these companies in these industries that their work is so important, but again, there's a lot of dysfunction and hurdles. So what is one message, Cosimo, that you would relay to them?
I would relate to the fact that I would encourage everybody to deeply look inside and say, utility today, has a mandate to save the planet, and the mandate to save the planet has to be taken lightly, because those are the one that can make or break for the future generations, which means for my kids and your kids. So my advice to them is, take a deep breath, look at technology like us that can help you to go and accomplish that mandate, that can help you to turn around the perceptions that you are a bad company when it comes to customers' experience that nobody wants to deal with, to a good company where customers should not have problems. And when they have problems, you know exactly what to do and how to solve the problem, with the maximum satisfaction for the customers. So obviously, I like everybody in the utility space to come and look at us, but it's there's a lot of smart people out there. We think we are smart, but I think the most important thing is for the industry is really to look at this and say, we do have a mandate, and the mandate is to save this planet, and we need to do the right thing. And the right thing starting to basically, empower those changing and support the customers and the information they are giving to the customers in order to make the shift from polluting the world to cleaning the world.
That's so beautiful. And I believe that we can innovate our way out of anything, because I have full faith in the human mind and the human spirit. People like you, mathematicians, the world's greatest scientists. So I am so excited that we are moving the needle to make things happen. I want to close with a couple rapid fire questions that are really just for fun, and so we can get to know you a little better. Are you ready to take those questions, Cosimo? Okay. All right, first question. If you could have lunch with anybody, dead or alive, who would it be?
I would have a lunch with Obama.
Okay, cool. What is the greatest music or band of all time?
I would say the Beatles, or the Rolling Stones, but I'll take the Beatles.
What is your most embarrassing work moment?
I don't know if I have an embarrassing work moment, but I think I'll pass on this.
Okay, that's fine. Some people don't get embarrassed. I'm not sure I could even answer that question. What is one tool that you used for spiritual or mental growth and development during COVID?
Well, I do a lot of exercise. I'm an avid bike rider. So to me, during COVID, I would have taken my bike and get out of my house on the hills. And the beautiful thing is there were no cars around. So you could be in the open space with a lot of wild animals that would have come out. So that's what I would have done. In terms of my team and how we have coped with COVID. We are a company that started during COVID, so we basically started at when COVID and everybody was in lockdown. So we managed to work remotely together and encourage each other. So I think that the core team spends significant amount of time, through communication tools like Zoom, Google Meet, and others. And in order for us, to be able to work synchronously and towards a common goal of build a good product. So.
Amazing. And if people want to learn more about Minerva, where can they do that?
Well, we have a brand new website that our Chief Marketing Officer has put in place. It's MinervaCQ.com. CQ stands for Collaborative Intelligence. You can look our story there. If you want more information, just send me an email, Cosimo@MinervaCQ.com. Happy to talk. Or we can schedule a meeting or meet in person. Like, I'm so glad that now I can meet people in person, that I'm trying to to get all my meetings in person when I can, specifically if the meetings are in the Bay Area.
Well, that is so wonderful. I can't wait till we get to meet in person, because we actually haven't met yet. Cosimo, it's been such a pleasure having you on the Modern Customer Podcast. I really believe in what you're doing, and it's just been a pleasure being able to interview you today. Everybody tuning in, you've been listening to the Modern Customer Podcast. Until next time. Thank you for listening to this podcast episode. Please subscribe, and don't forget to check out my new community at customerexperiencecommunity.com. Join your peers, get access to incredible resources, and become a founding member. See you there.